we all know people, whether they're business leaders or people who are just part of a company, where it takes forever for them to respond to an email, or someone who is always looking at their phone in a meeting or looking at another screen if they're on a video meeting. Those are subtle little things that can have an impact on a relationship with someone. Every interaction that they have with a stakeholder can really impact your company reputation and, at the end of the day, opportunities, which is the most important thing. And one of the things that we always say to CEOs and business owners is consider how many opportunities you are losing every day because you didn't pay attention to employee branding because it wasn't a priority.
Welcome to the Great Talent, Great Business Podcast, your resource for building exceptional teams and thriving businesses. Each episode delivers actionable insights on harnessing offshore talent, integrating innovative technology, cultivating a vibrant company culture, and attracting and retaining top performers to drive sustainable growth. Subscribe now to never miss an episode. For more resources, visit greattalentpodcast.com, where you can download this episode's free worksheet designed to help you apply today's insight to your business. And now, here's your host, Rob Levin.
Today, I'm joined by Alyssa Gelbard, founder and CEO of Point Road Group, a firm specializing in employee and executive branding to help businesses grow through their people. Alyssa and her team work with CEOs, leadership teams, and boards to align brand strategy with business goals, building credibility, and driving results. Alyssa, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, great to see you. Let's dive right in. What does the term employee brand mean? And why is it important?
Employee branding is how your people represent and promote your brand to stakeholders in everything that they do. It's who they are online, it's who they are in person. It's things like how they introduce themselves and talk about the business in a current way. It's how they look on LinkedIn, their response time to email, how their video presence, how they dress, things like that. And every interaction that they have with a stakeholder can really impact your company reputation and, at the end of the day, opportunities, which is the most important thing. And one of the things that we always say to CEOs and business owners is consider how many opportunities you are losing every day because you didn't pay attention to employee branding because it wasn't a priority. When you think about the impact, though, so all of the interactions that people have, what is the end result? Okay, it's how are you going to be attracting prospects when you think about how your people are coming across? What about closing clients, closing business? Or once you have referrals from those, or repeat business or referrals from your customers, customer loyalty, referrals from people in your network. Those are the ability to attract talent. All of those little interactions that people have. It also has some nice other benefits too, like can help with employee engagement if you have a team that pays attention to their employee brands, and it differentiates you from your competitors because so many companies don't pay close attention to this.
And it seems like a lot of these things that you're talking about that make up the employee brand, some of these might be very subtle where,
yeah, absolutely.
Right? Where it's not even something somebody would say something out loud. Oh, that person seemed a little off, or person seemed amazing. They probably couldn't pinpoint what it was, right? It's like a lot of little things. Can you give us an example of what some of those little things are?
Oh, yeah. So as you're saying that, I'm like, okay, you think about, we all know people, and whether they're business leaders or people who are just part of a company, where it takes forever for them to respond to an email. And they're always late in responding to email. Or someone who is always looking at their phone in a meeting or looking at another screen if they're on a video meeting. Those are subtle little things that can have an impact on a relationship with someone. Maybe the message that sends is, they're not paying attention, maybe I don't feel so important. So if I have an opportunity to refer you or somebody else, refer a different company, different person, because their people aren't always the most attentive. And that could be when someone just in a relationship, or that could be once they're a customer of yours. They don't feel taken. That's just one example, but if they don't feel taken care of, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, 100%. That makes a lot of sense. And as you're saying, a couple of little things I'm doing from time to time that I need to improve on. Now, when I speak, I talk a lot about employer brand, right? And we're speaking now about employee brand. Just give us a quick overview of the difference, just so everybody's clear.
I think it's an extension. It falls under employer brand because it's how an employer brand is how
It's
your
the
company
collective,
comes
right?
across. It's the collective thing, right? As a
Yeah.
place where people want to work. Think about when a candidate they're doing their homework on a company and they are looking up the company. They're going to look up the people, right? So they're going to, and not just look up the people. So LinkedIn obviously is a big part of employee branding. So they're going to look up people on LinkedIn. They're going to look up the company on LinkedIn. What's the LinkedIn presence? Do the people engage with anything about their company? But also when people talk about the business too, when they're meeting people, when they're interviewing, or if or they just know people who've worked at that company, what are those people like? And so it's the people part of the employer brand.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's like the micro versus the macro.
Yeah,
Sorry for
exactly.
those, but my son just took economics in college, and it's all fresh in my head.
Oh,
Although it
that was
brings
a
back,
million years ago for me, and that still makes me cringe.
yeah, I was gonna say that was, yeah, especially the micro part. Anyway,
Yes.
so what should business owners be doing or thinking about and doing to improve, I guess, their employee brand and then maybe even company wide? And I know those are two big questions, so just take
Yeah.
a shot at.
So, okay. So first we'll talk about what the company can do. And I think that's the first step is awareness, right? It's like with any change that you need to make, whether it's losing weight or doing this or that. Yeah, have to be aware.
Right.
We actually, our Point Road Group, my company, we have something called an employee brand audit. It's like this really quick thing, like a 3-minute thing. And we encourage people to take it because it kind of opens their eyes. It's like, oh, didn't think about that. So we say, okay, well, think about that now. You're losing opportunities. You may be losing great talent because you're not paying attention. So once you have the awareness, okay, what are some things you can do? The easiest thing, like the really simple thing, is first starting with executive team, looking at their LinkedIn or leadership team, looking at their LinkedIn profile and their bios. What kind of impressions do people get when they look them up? Because whether it's a prospect, potential talent, depending on where you are with your business, maybe you're thinking about an exit and people are looking at that, or maybe you're looking at investors on the other side. So people pay close attention to leadership teams when they're doing due diligence. So that's the easiest place to start.
Yeah.
And so making sure, hey, what do they look like? Did they even pay attention? When was the last time they looked? Maybe it was when they got the job at your company, or maybe it was when you were starting the business. So look at how they're coming across. And then you can cascade that down to the rest of your team. Make it easy for them. Give them some basic kind of profile standards. And it's not like you got to do this, but hey, here's an easier way to be a better brand ambassador. That's a phrase we use all the time. Be a better brand ambassador. Employees should be your best brand ambassadors. So make it easy for them. It's not rocket science, but the thing is, when you think about people on your team, they're paying attention to their job and everything else that they're doing. Honestly, same with you as a business owner or leader and your leadership team. These are usually not things you pay attention to, but if you can just give it a little time and energy, can have a big payoff. So things like LinkedIn, how to be better and even how to engage, right? Content engagement, that's a big piece on social, and whether it's LinkedIn or another platform, depending on the type of business that you have. I think the other also easy piece to do is simple communications training on personal introductions, right? There's so many missed opportunities out there every day because people don't introduce themselves in the best way possible. I know you network, I network, but you hear people all the time where they just miss an opportunity because maybe they're talking about the company the way it was 5 years ago or 3 years ago, or you've launched a new product or service line, or you work with different verticals, or you have a real specialty with a business that's at a certain stage. And so helping them see how to do it and making it easy for them is super easy, big win. And I think the other sort of easy win is the whole email response time that we were just talking about, that people lose business all the time, ghosting, all of that. It's such a thing. It's like the norm now,
Well,
and helping people understand why.
yeah, combine that with the fact that we're now trained as consumers for immediate responses.
Yeah.
We're all customers of Amazon. I'm not sure who's working for who there, but that's another question. We're just used to immediate gratification, and when you don't have that, I think in any situation, one of the things I talk about is when you're recruiting candidates and they're going through your interview process, are those interviews same day or a day, one adjacent day, or is it a week later? A week later is way
Right.
too late. And it's along the lines of what you're saying, just
Right.
response time.
And what you're saying right there. So let's say you have a head of HR who is doing the interviews and they're swamped and they've got a lot going on, and there's candidates that they've met with, but now it's the next round and they don't know, are we meeting again? And they don't respond because they're busy. And the excuse that I'm swamped, I'm busy, it makes me roll my eyes all the time because come on, everybody's swamped and busy.
This episode is brought to you by Work Better Now, your trusted partner for getting high-performing talent from Latin America. Our clients tell us that partnering with Work Better Now has transformed their businesses by providing the proactive, reliable, and skilled professionals that they need to thrive. Ready to build your dream team? Visit workbetternow.com to schedule your consultation today. As a special thank you to listeners of the Great Talent, Great Business podcast, we're offering $150 off your first 3 months. Just mention great talent during your consult. Join the businesses building their dream teams and take the next step in transforming yours today. I was at a big, I guess at the time, big six accounting firm right out of school. And the thing, I still remember this to this day, when I was interviewing there, at some point in the interview process, somebody said that we have a rule in this firm, which is when, whether it's a manager or partner back then interviewing, that's their highest priority. A client calls with an emergency, that's secondary.
Ooh,
Wow, that was so impressive. I'm just like this college kid, and I'm now more important than the client who's paying the bill. I thought that was really cool,
that
and that
is
stuck with
brilliant.
me. And that's one of the many things that when my partner and I started the company, our first core value that we came up with the day we started the company was talent comes first, and we try to have everything we do is around that core value.
I
Uh,
think so.
by the way, one of my pet peeves, and I would like to know what you think about this. You were talking a lot about LinkedIn. If there's a business I'm looking to do business with, or that is contacting me, they want to do business with me, and
Right.
and I don't see any information about the leadership team,
Right?
I'm already
I'm
hitting
with you.
pause.
I'm with you. Why? Why is there nothing? It makes you question. And then what you might do, then if they don't have anything and you're really still curious, then you'll go to their LinkedIn company page and see. And then maybe you find the leaders, maybe you don't, maybe you look at the leaders and they have just super, super basic LinkedIn profiles. As a matter of fact, we did some original research on that, on the power of executive profile, LinkedIn profiles on business people's willingness to do business. It has a really big impact. We originally did the research for ourselves because we couldn't find any data and we were curious. And then we actually rolled it out and it proved what we thought. First, we tested it by saying, do people make judgments about somebody based on their profile? And then we're like, okay, yes, they do. So now let's see, do they make judgments about the company? And they do. So it's really they make buying decisions, hiring decisions, also decisions whether or not they want to work somewhere. So going back to employer brand, definitely important to have information there. And kind of related to that, when you're thinking about employee branding, one of the things that we always suggest to companies first when we work with them on is, let's look at your brand though, in your brand messaging. Before you focus on getting everybody to amplify the message, what are you saying right now about your company? So back to your point about the website, on that about description, is that current? Is it talking, does it resonate with the people you want to reach?
Is it
Right?
compelling? Yeah.
Is it compelling? You talk about the problems you solve, the benefits of working with you, but also maybe something about culture when you think about hiring. And then also look at the exact same thing on LinkedIn from a company page perspective, especially for talent, especially for your employer brand. If you just have some boring description, that's your place to include something about your culture and your people, because LinkedIn is about people, right? So it's not
Right.
just about business. The people are the most important part of your business. I think it's really important to look there first and make sure it's current, and then people can focus on amplifying their brand.
Gotcha. So let's put all of this together because we covered so much ground in just a few minutes, and thank you for that. We have the employee brand of the leadership, like maybe the owner, then you have the leadership team, you have the employees, and then you have, of course, the company brand itself, or at least we're not going into too much detail. This is not a marketing conversation. The company itself, how is the company coming across? Because that's part of it. So just walk us through. A client comes in and says, "Hey, Alyssa, I need your help." Where do you start? Where does someone start? And without going into too much detail, what do they have to go through? What's the list?
So the list is basically, you want to start with the brand foundation. So what we were just talking about,
Yeah.
quickly looking at how the company and making sure that's current, and we'll get that current for them, their messaging, their company LinkedIn presence. Then we look at them. So one thing, I know you asked the question, sorry to go off on a quick tangent, but you asked about the owner or the CEO and how important is their brand. It's paramount. It's the most important one, because you're directly linked to the business. Whatever someone thinks about you is what they think about the business. And you model behavior for the entire team. So if you don't pay attention to your brand, you can't expect anybody else on your leadership team, if you have one, or anybody else in your business to
Great
pay
point.
attention. So it's really important for the leader. So that's what I would say. Then we look at the company's presence. Then we look at leadership and say, okay, we've got to get you guys up to, and gals up to speed. So whether that's writing better LinkedIn profiles, writing corporate bios that really show about, that make it engaging so people want to learn more. And whether it's a prospect or talent, they want to learn more about you. They're interested in that conversation.
Right.
And then we'll look at, the presence of the team. We do training on how to have a better LinkedIn presence. We'll do that communications training that we talked about, covering not just email response, but depending on where the business is, it might be networking guidance. It might be introducing yourself. Sometimes it might be having better presentation skills, but all of the things that touch stakeholders and how your people will be engaging with them every day in some way, making sure that every little touch point is sharper and better. And then we measure along the way. We see it's not just about looking at everything, but we want you to move the needle. So then we'll measure along the way and make sure that everything is effective there.
Gotcha. Sounds good. So just a quick follow-up question on that. What's the rule, if you will, on a company saying to their employees, this is what we would like you to put on LinkedIn? Is it that, or is it here's a guide, or no, this is the way we want you to come across on LinkedIn?
I think if you do it with that iron fist is the way you got to do it, you'll never get buy-in, because it's going to benefit you, by the way, as an individual and the business. So here's some things that you can do. I think there's the basic stuff on how to be just a general better brand ambassador for the business. If make sure stuff I'm going to say right now, you're going to say, really? And we see it with clients and just people we know all the time. You have tons of people in a business who don't follow the right business. So even under their experience section, they're listing the wrong company because there's something else with a similar name. Do they follow the company to see their posts? Things like that can really go a long way. And saying, okay, if you're going to describe the business in your about section or under your experience, please use this kind of phrasing. We want to use current phrasing. And if you position it that way and that it's helpful to them and that they're going to look better, then there's a lot more buy-in. From leadership, I think it's more, look, you guys have to do this. It's not an option. They know why. And then from content engagement, so let's say LinkedIn, for example, and even with other social, if that's where your business is, because sometimes Instagram might be big for them, is guidance on best practices. They might want to do it, but they don't know, they don't have the time, they can't be bothered. But if you say, hey, it's really easy, you spend a few minutes a week and here's what you can do, then you're making it easy for them. But you have to look for it also from the company perspective and say, what are you doing as a business in terms of your posting strategy on whatever platform it is? Are you doing things that make it easy to share? Or are you just doing things that people would say, I don't want to share that? You have to look at that strategy too, and we'll help companies with that because you want your employees to engage.
This is so powerful. I don't think people realize in the old days it was, what are you wearing? Because everything was
wait, that's an important thing. That actually is.
Please.
Yeah, no, that's part of employee branding,
Right?
right? You've got to make sure that people are looking great. Yes, we're in a different world than we used to be, but that doesn't mean you get to look like a schlub just because, right? So if you're client facing, there's standards and there's ways to communicate that. You don't just say you must do this because then people are going to run for the hills,
Right?
And probably record you saying it somehow and then post it all over the place, and then no one will want to work for you.
Yeah. Alyssa, thank you so much for this. This is so powerful. After you say it, it's one of those things like after you say it, it seems like common sense, but it's really not. It's not on people's radar. I know it because I see it. And I've been guilty of some of these mistakes that people are making as well. So I really appreciate this. I'm sure our audience is going to get a lot out of this. How can people find out more about you and your company?
Thank you. Our website, pointroadgroup.com. We're also on LinkedIn, and they can reach out to me as well. And I think when you said it's things that they're not paying attention to, we always say what we do isn't rocket science, but you're paying attention to every other important thing in your business. And now it's time to pay attention to this so you don't lose more opportunities.
So just a quick tip for everybody, check out Alyssa's LinkedIn profile. You're going to see how to do it right. Alyssa, thanks again. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you soon.
Yep. Go Rangers.
Go Rangers. Thanks for listening. The Great Talent, Great Business podcast is brought to you by Work Better Now. Don't forget to review, subscribe, and download the worksheet for this episode at the link below. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on LinkedIn at Great Talent, Great Business, or visit greattalentpodcast.com.